Ranjita, Assistant Professor, Department of MBA, Sai Vidya Institute of Technology, Rajan Kundle, Bangalore. Subject Direct Taxation, third semester, Module 4, Income from Capital Gain, lecture number 5. So, in our previous class, we have studied about the capital gain, transfer, capital assets, and what are the types of capital assets and what are the types of capital gain and what are the terminologies we are used in capital gain and how to calculate the long-term capital gain and how to calculate the short-term capital gain and how to calculate the capital gain for a depreciable assets and how to calculate the capital gain for the self-generated assets and how to calculate cost of acquisition and what is the meaning of indexed cost of acquisition and improvement and what are the formulas to calculate the indexed cost of acquisition and indexed cost of improvement. And these are all the topics which we have covered in your previous class. In today's class, we are going to study about exemptions from capital gain under section 54, 54B, 54D, 54EC, 54F, 54G, and 54GA. 54. This session is available only to the individual and HUF, and if the SSC or if an individual is or the HUF is satisfying the following conditions, then for him these deductions will be available. What are those conditions? Let us see. The first one is transfer or sale of a residential house property. There must be a transfer of what? Residential house property. Then it must be a long-term capital gain. It must be a long-term capital gain. And the second one is investment or purchases of another residential house property. Want to claim a deduction or exemptions, you want to invest or purchase another residential house property. When you have to purchase another residential house property before the date of transfer, you will be having a 1 year of time in order to make a investment or purchase. After the date of transfer, you are having 2 years of time. If it is a constructions of a new house, then you are having a 3 years from the date of sale or the transfer. In case of compulsory acquisition, the period of acquisition or the constructions will be determined from the date of receipt of a composition. Next, the third condition is the new residential house should be in India. It should be in India. What the new residential house you are purchasing, it should be in India. It should not be in abroad. Next, the above conditions are cumulative, hence, even if one condition is not fulfilled, then the seller cannot avail the benefit of the exemption under section 54. You can see the four conditions, students. The first one is it should be a long-term capital gain, and that long-term capital gain should be a residential house property. And the second one is investment must be made in the residential house property. Next, the third one is it should be situated in India. Among these three, all the conditions should be satisfied. If any one of these conditions is not fulfilled, then you are not able to claim a exemption under this section. Let us see what is the quantum of exemptions. The first thing is we have to consider the actual amount invested in the new asset, and if you have any deposits in the capital gain account, please add it, and we have to compare this amount with the capital gain what you got. By comparing these two, find which is the least one. The least amount will be an exemptions for you. Next, go for the next session under section 54B. These sessions will be available only to the individual, and if the individual is satisfying the conditions, then only this session is going to be allowed. What are those conditions? The first condition is transfer should be a agricultural land. Means there must be a transfer of only agricultural land only, not other assets, only the agricultural land. Next, it must have been used in the 2 years immediate preceding the date of transfer for agricultural purpose means you have to use this agricultural land at least for 2 years from the immediate preceding from the date of transfer. Next, the second condition is investment in another agricultural land. You have to make an investment in the another agricultural land, and that investment has to be made within the 2 years from the date of transfer. That is very important. The first condition is it must be a transfer of agricultural land, and that agricultural land must be used for the 2 years immediate preceding the date of transfer, and you have to make an investment in the another agricultural land. That investment must be made within the 2 years from the date of transfer. These are the two conditions you have to fulfill in order to get an exemption under section 54b. What is the quantum of exemptions you are getting here? First, the actual amount what you have invested, and again if you have any deposits in the capital gain account, please add it and compare with the capital gain. Among these two, which is the least one, the least amount will be exempted, or you're going to get an exemptions. Next, go for the next session, that is section 54D. This sessions is available to any SSC students. It may be an individual, it may be an HUF, it may be a firm. To any individual, it is applicable. And if he is satisfying the following condition, then he is like eligible for claiming a exemption. The first condition is transfer or compulsory acquisition of an industrial undertaking. An industrial undertaking. If there is any transfer or a compulsory acquisition of an industrial undertaking, then this deductions will be available. Next, the property should be land and building forming part of the industrial undertaking. The property may be a land or building forming a part of industrial undertaking. Next, the SSC must have been used the property for the purpose of business in the 2 years immediate preceding the date of transfer. It must be used for 2 years from the immediate preceding from the date of transfer. Next, investment in the new industrial undertaking. If you are purchased, okay, it should be purchased or constructed within the 3 years from the date of transfer. Next, what is the amount of exemptions you are getting here? Again, the same thing is repeating. Actual amount invested in the new asset. Add deposits if there is any deposits which you have deposited in the capital gain account of your bank account, then compare with the capital gain among these two, which is the least one, the least amount is get as an exemption. Next, go for session 54EC. This 54EC is also available to any SSC. Okay, and what are the conditions he has to fulfill in order to get this exemption? Let us see that. The first one is transfer of any long-term capital assets. There must be a transfer of long-term capital assets. Okay. The second one is investment in long-term bonds issued by NABARD or NHAI or RECL. Okay, if there is any investment which is, if you are making any investment in the long term bonds, and that must be issued by the NABARD or NHAL or the RECL, in such a case you are able to what claim exemptions under this session. First one is within the 6 months from the date of transfer, you have to be invested students, and that investment what you have made, it should redeem after 3 years. It should be redeemed after 3 years, and the maximum amount which can be invested in the financial year cannot exceed 50 lakh. You are not supposed to invest more than 50 lakhs. The maximum limit here is 50 lakhs. Then what is the amount of exemptions you are getting students? Go for the last column, that is actual amount invested in the new assets, add if there is any deposits. After that, compare with the capital gain. Again, you have that. You should remember we have a maximum limit of 50 lakhs. Is it right? We have three comparison. One is actual amount invested in new assets plus deposits. Compare with the capital gain. Compare with the maximum limit. Among these three, which is the least? The least amount is exempted. This is about your session 54 EC. Next, section 54 F. Section 54S will be applicable to the individual and the HUF. If he is satisfying these two conditions, then he is going to claim a exemption under Section 54F. The first thing is transfer of long-term capital assets other than residential house. Then the asset transferred is a long-term capital gain other than a residential house property. Okay. And the second condition is invested in residential house property. The first condition that it should be a long-term capital gain, but it should not be a residential house property. But the second condition is you have to invest. You have to invest in the residential house property only. When you have to invest, you have a time period of, if it is before the date of transfer, you are having, like, you should purchase, you should invest in the residential house property within 1 year. Okay, if you are making an investment after the date of transfer, you are having 2 years of time. If it is the constructions, then you are going to get a 1 year extra time. That is, you are getting 3 years from the date of transfer. Own more than one house property. And even one more thing is, if the SSE is investing in the residential house property, and if he is selling that house property, in such cases also there is no exemptions. So yes, students, here we are having a one practical sum. Let us go for solving that. First question is, Mr. Anand has purchased house property on 17/8/2002 for rupees 5 lakh. On 1/5/2004, he constructed a new floor for the same house at the cost of rupees 2,50,000. On 1/10/2019, he sold such a house for rupees 18 lakh and incurred brokerage at 2% to arranging the customers compute his capital gain. Here is the solution, students. Start with the computation of capital gain of Mr. Anand, particulars and amount column. The first thing we have to consider is sale consideration. From that we have to deduct a selling expenses. Then you are going to get a net sale considerations. From that we have to deduct a indexed cost of acquisition and indexed cost of improvement. Finally, you are getting a long-term capital gain. Yes, let us solve this question. First, go for the question, students. Check when the activities has been taken place. Mr. Anand has purchased a house property when he has purchased in the year 2002. Okay, when he has sold in the year 2019, then it is the long-term capital gain. Okay, it is purchased in 2002, it is sold in 2019. How we have considered it as a long-term capital asset? Because, see here, students, house property. House property is an immovable property. If the immovable property is holded more than 2 years or 24 months, then such assets are known as long-term assets. Okay, if you are selling that long-term assets and if you are gaining any income, such incomes or gains are known as long-term capital gain. Yes, so it is a long-term capital assets. As it is a long-term capital assets, I am doing indexation. Suppose it is a short-term capital assets, what we have to do, students? We have to take only the cost of acquisition and the cost of improvement. We should not do indexation. Yes, that is the one thing what we have to remember here is. Next, he constructed a new floor for the same house. He is having a house, for that he has making some of the extension. He has constructed new floor. Okay, that is nothing but he has made some of the improvement in the house. That is the cost of improvement. Next, on 1/10/2019, he sold a house. So in 1/10/2019, he sold the house for rupees 18 lakh, that is your sale consideration, and incurred brokerage at 2% to arranging the customers. Means in order to sell that asset, you have incurred some of the selling expenses, that is 2% on the sales. Okay, that is considered as a selling expenses. Yes, go for the format. Sales considerations is how much? That is 18 lakh. Is it right? Yes, please write out in the outer column. Next, go for the selling expenses. What is the selling expenses in the question? 2%, 2%, 2% of what? 2% on sales consideration, that is 18 lakh into 2%, you are going to get 36,000. Next, the sale consideration is 18 lakh. From that, deduct 36,000. You are going to get net sale consideration has rupees 17 lakh 64,000. What is the next thing? We have to deduct the indexed cost of acquisition and indexed cost of improvement. In order to calculate these two, we have a formula. Is that right? Yes. Go for the formula. What is the formula? Working note. Go for the working note. Indexed cost of acquisition is equal to actual cost. See here, if it is less than, if the asset is purchased before 1/4/2001, then we have to compare with the fair market value. As it is purchased after 2001, see here, date of purchase is after 2001. So we are not going to compare with the fair market value directly. What the amount they had given, we are going to take it. Okay. Actual cost in the numerator divided by CII of the year in which the asset is acquired. Okay, if it is before 2001, then we are going to take the base year as a 100. Usually we have to take 100 if it is purchased on or before 1/4/2001. If it is after 2001, then we are going to take a CIA of the year in which the asset is acquired multiplied by CIA of the year in which the asset is sold. This is the formula to calculate the index cost of acquisition. Yes, go for the actual cost. See here, the actual cost is 5,000 in the question. Take that 5,000 divided by CIA of the year in which the asset is acquired. Go for the chart and look at and tell me what is the CIA for the year 2000. In which year we have acquired the asset? In the year 2002. 2002. The CIA of 2002 is 105 multiplied by CIA of the year in which the asset is sold. Check, go for the chat and check what is the CIA for the 2019. In 2019 we have sold the asset. Is it right? CIA for the 2018-19 is 289. So 5 lakh divided by 105 multiplied by 289, you are going to get 13 lakh 76,190 rupees. Okay, please take that amount here in the inner column. Next, what is the next thing? We have to compute the indexed cost of improvement. Is it right? Again, we have a formula for that also. Okay, yes. What is that? Actual cost divided by CIA of year in which the improvement is made multiplied by CIA of the year in which the asset is sold. Okay, the actual cost of the improvement is 2,50,000. It is there in the second line. And the year CIA of the year in which the improvement is done. In which year the improvement is done, students? In the year 2004. The CIA of 2004 is 113 multiplied by in which year the asset is sold? In the year 2019. The CIA of 2019 is 289. Then get me the final balance what you're getting. That is 6,39,381. Add it and take to the outer column. That is, you are going to get 20,15,571. From net sale considerations, deduct the expenses. After deducting the expenses, you are going to get a negative balance here. As you are getting a negative balance, there is no question of tax to the, you are not supposed to pay any tax to the government. Okay, here there is no capital gain. You have incurred a long-term capital loss. Yes. Shall we solve one more problem, students? Here we have a second problem, that is, go for the question. From the following particulars furnished by A, compute his income from capital gain for the assessment year 2019-20. Date of purchase of house property is 1/12/1980, means it has been purchased before 1/4/2001, and the cost of acquisition is 2,50,000. Cost of additions in the year 1980 is rupees 25,000 rupees. Fair market value as on 1/4/2001 is rupees 3,50,000, and the cost of additions in the year 2004 and 5 is 77,700. Sale proceeds in the year 2018-19 is 44 lakhs. This is the information they had given in the questions. You have to compute the we have to check whether it is a short-term capital assets or a long-term capital assets. Based on that, we have to calculate the capital gains. Yes, as you know, as per the format, first thing what we have to consider, students, we have to consider the sale consideration. See here, in the last line, they had given the sale consideration. What is the sale consideration? That is 44,000. Yes, I have write it in the outer column. Next, check, do you have any selling expenses in the question? In these questions, there is no information regarding the selling expenses. Okay, then the selling expenses is nil. Then what is the sales consideration? The same amount will be replaced here. Next, in order to deduct the cost of acquisitions, we have to check whether it is a short-term asset or a long-term asset. If it is a long-term, do indexation. If it is a short-term, directly take the amount. Check. Say here students, it is purchased in 1/12/1920, 1/12/1920, and it is a house property, means it is a immovable property. For immovable property, if we are holding that immovable property for more than 2 years, then we consider it as a long-term capital assets. See here students, from 1982, we have been used till 2018-19. Okay, means it is more than 2 years. As it is more than 2 years, we call this asset as a long-term capital assets. Okay. Next, if it is a long-term capital assets, what we have to do? We have to do an indexation. Yes, I'm taking an indexation. Less indexed cost of acquisition and less indexed cost of improvement. For the calculations of indexed cost of improvement, we have a formula. What is that? Go for the formula. Indexed cost of acquisition is equal to actual cost or the fair market value. So here we have to compare with the fair market value, students, because this asset is purchased before 2001, 1/4/2001. Okay, as it is purchased, we have to compare with the fair market value. They had given the fair market value. See here, the fair market value is 30 3,50,000, 3,50,000, and the actual cost incurred is 25 lakhs. In these two, which is the highest amount? Which is the highest amount that has to be considered for the as a cost of acquisition? Okay, that amount is considered as a cost of acquisition. Yes, in these two, 2,50,000 and 3,50,000, which is the highest one? 3,50,000 is the highest one. So I consider it as a cost of acquisition. Take here 3,50,000 divided by the denominator is 100 because it has been purchased before 1/4/2001. If it is purchased before 1/4/2001, the denominator will be same, that is 100 multiplied by 280 because the CIA of the 2018 is 280. In which year you have sold the asset? In which year you have sold the asset? In the year 2018-19. The 1890 CII is 280. Okay. So here 3,50,000 divided by 100 multiplied by 280, that is you're going to get 9,80,000. Next, go for the calculations of indexed cost of improvement. Next, what is the cost of improvement, students? Check the question. The cost of improvement in the year 1980 is rupees 25,000. Hope you remember, students, if there is any cost of improvement before 2001, 1/4/2001, then it is not considered. Only the cost of improvement after 1/4/2001 should be 2001 should be considered as per the rule. Is it right? Okay. According to that, see here, the cost of additions in the year 1980 is ignored because it is before 2001. Okay, only the cost of additions in the year 2004 and 5 is considered because it has been the improvement has been made after 1/4/2001. Take this amount, that is 77,700. Yes, divided by CII of the year in which the cost, in which the asset, the improvement is made. In which year you have made an improvement? In which year you have done? That is 2004 and 5. 2004 and 5 CII is 113 multiplied by 280 because it is sold in the year 2019. The CII of 2018 is 280. Okay. Next, when you are multiplying, substituting this, you are going to get 1,92,531. Next, add it and take to the outer column. 44 lakhs minus 9 lakh 80,000, 1 lakh 92,531. The remaining balance, what you are getting after deducting these two, this is known as long-term capital gain. Okay, students, I'm going to end the sessions. Have a nice day. Take care.